Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick.
Mike.
I'm Jackson.
From Sports Talk. Today, the question is, what is the problem with the Denver Broncos? Mike.
All right, well,
The two guys that we're really mentioning, Vic Fangio and Drew Lock here. Go ahead.
I don't know if there's necessarily a problem with the Broncos. I just don't think they're as good as other teams in that division. Like, coming into the season, I thought they were going to be good, but, they've been hit with injuries. Von Miller's been out. Drew Lock has been hurt. Of course, they lose Cortland Sutton for the year. I don't think Vic Fangio should lose his job. I actually like Vic Fangio a lot. I think he's a tremendous coach. I think he's got a lot of potential with this Broncos team. They got to get healthy, and they got to improve. I didn't like the Melvin Gordon signing a whole lot. I thought that was a waste of money. I don't know what John Elway's doing there. I don't think Drew Lock is the problem. I think Drew Lock has definitely struggled. Don't get me wrong. He has struggled. But he shows some glimpses of being a good quarterback. His problem, I'll tell you what his problem is, comes from when he's pressured. When Drew Lock is pressured, he doesn't go, like, if he senses any type of pressure, he tries to move around too much, gets a little happy feet, and that causes him to throw interceptions or have inefficient plays. Another one of his problems is Drew Lock needs to go through all of his progressions. He doesn't usually go through all of his progressions, which can come up and hurt him. Now, what I think the Broncos need to do to help the kid, because, what is he? He's a second-year guy. He's a second-round pick. They got to help him by getting the ball out of his hand quicker. You got to design shorter routes, quicker plays for Drew Lock to get rid of the ball. We know Drew Lock's got the arm talent. It's just decision-making with him, and he has not been great at making decisions at all this season, and that's what's hurting him on the stat sheet and hurting his team in games. He is troubled decision-making. But I think he can turn it around, and I think he can be the Broncos quarterback. He just needs some work. You have John Elway. John Elway is your GM. You think he'd mentor and go help the kid because John Elway he had a cannon of an arm. Drew Lock has a cannon of an arm. Take the kid under your wing and help him. That's what I think.
You think John Elway would do that, but he just hasn't.
He hasn't.
I think John Elway would be good with quarterbacks.
He's been terrible. He's been terrible getting that team a quarterback since he's been there. And Nick, I'm not going to hold nothing back. I was a fan of Drew Lock. He was my favorite quarterback in that draft. I was a fan of him this year. I said I'd take him over Kyler Murray. That was a bad decision, but I still love the kid's potential. He's got the potential. Everything just needs to come together there, and he just needs to be talked to. I'm watching. I'm not even a coach. I'm watching the game, and I can see what he's doing wrong. He's not going through his progressions, and he gets happy feet when he feels pressure.
Agreed. Go ahead, Jackson.
So, I'm a big fan of Drew Lock. I've been watching him forever. Been seeing him around high school and then college. I've watched him all of his years at Missouri. And he's a great quarterback. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got a cannon of an arm. And when he comes in towards the end of the last year, I think he played great. He went 5-1. He beat the Texans big, and then he went 5-1. His only loss was to the Kansas City Chiefs. But I think part of the problem is he's missing his number one receiver. It's Cortland Sutton. I do really like their receiving core, though. I like Jerry Jeudy. I like Tim Patrick. I like KJ Hamler and Noah Fant's a beast. I necessarily don't think Drew Lock is the problem. I think it's tough for him because he's coming off an injury. He hurt that shoulder week 2. And he's missing his number one receiver, and he's got all these people that haven't been really in the organization that much. He's got 2 rookies, Tim Patrick, who I think was a signing, and then Noah Fant, who's a beast. But I don't know what Mike said, his decision making, his first game back with New England, he threw unnecessary deep balls for no reason. He's not making his progressions. That's all I got on him.
I look at Drew Lock, and I thought he always had potential. I just didn't think he was a top-tier quarterback. I never did. And I just don't know what has happened from last year's Drew Lock to this year's Drew Lock. In 5 games last year that he started, he's 4-1. Let me just make sure I read that right. Yeah, he's 4-1 last year when he took over. He's 3-5 right now, and he is the problem, right? The defense, Vic Fangio, I love Vic Fangio, but right now this second, I don't know what it is. He had the injury, so I say, you know what? It might not be him, but he is the one costing this team the games right now. Like, he has nobody else besides Drew Lock. He has 7 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. I think that is like the worst in the league, even worse than Carson Wentz's stats. He's only been sacked 11 times. I mean, I don't think that's a lot at all. I mean, we're reading people up at like 38, 32, 20 something sacks. He's only been sacked 11 times. And yes, he lost his number 1 receiver, and maybe that's the difference, not having Cortland Sutton. But that's a pretty damn big difference if that's making him go from 4-1 to 3-5 and playing this poorly. I just feel like the thing with Drew Lock is, and this is my honest truth, it's not his talent. He has talent. He has everything he possibly has. The problem with Drew Lock is I feel like once he's down, he just gives in. I've seen him do it time in and time out. Like, it's weird because in the fourth quarter, he just gets loose and he starts having fun and he actually executes. So I know that's like counterintuitive, but like for 3 quarters, he's down and he's like, all right, I'm just going to throw here. And then the fourth quarter is like, all right, now I'm just going to have fun. And I can't stand his cocky attitude, but he wins some games in the fourth quarter, which Mike said before, kind of. It's a great thing to have in a quarterback. I mean, someone that can do that is special. That's special. But can he put the first 3 quarters together? Is it Cortland Sutton? I don't think it's just Cortland Sutton. It has to be something that Drew Lock, his mental game in the first 3 quarters is not there. The injury, I'll give him another year. But Vic Fangio, I want to focus on Vic Fangio. I'm a big fan of Vic Fangio. I think he's one of the best defensive coaches, defensive-minded coaches in the NFL. If this man gets fired, I will start a strike. Jackson has to go, but I'll start a strike, and it is terrible. Go ahead, Mike.
Vic Fangio should not get fired, but I think Pat Shurmur should be on the hot seat because I'm going to be honest with you. He's the offensive coordinator, play caller for the Denver Broncos. We've seen him fail before. And, Nick, I think it's a negative game scripts. I don't think the offensive play calling is great for the Denver Broncos. I think that Drew Lock is a way better quarterback than what he's putting out there. And I think Pat Shurmur, lousy play call, I don't think he's putting him in the best situation to win games. I'm going to put the blame on Pat Shurmur. I mean, of course, Drew Lock is missing throws, forcing inaccurate passes. That's 100% his fault. But I don't think Pat Shurmur has this offense prepared week to week.
I agree with that. I mean, he just has not. I'm trying to see what happened to their offensive coordinator. Who was their offensive coordinator in 2019?
It wasn't Pat Shurmur was the Giants coach in 2009.
I think I just found it. Rich Scangarello. I don't know who he is. 5 things you need to know about the new Eagles senior offensive assistant.
Yeah. Eagles got like 16 coaches. They got Marty Morningway. I saw they hired.
I think he's on the Eagles now.
Yeah. So he is on the Eagles now because the Eagles don't have one offensive coordinator. They're doing something weird over there, which I think the whole staff should be fired. But that's getting off topic.
It's just
Shurmur. Like, why is Pat Shurmur your guy to hire? Like, what has he done in his?
I guess it was when he was in the Vikings, when he was offensive coordinator for that's all. I mean, he was actually pretty good with Minnesota, but since then, I mean, he looked terrible.
He has never been a good coach. Like, he's never been good.
No,
he's never been good. And I think that's what's causing this team to struggle. I really do. The defense has been good, even despite not having Von Miller.
And they're backed up because of the intercept. Like, this defense, I just see Vic Fangio, and I just feel like every time I see him with the whole thing what he has on his face, I honestly feel bad for him. His hands are always on his knees, and he's always like he can't do it. All he can do is watch his team fall apart. And if that damn guy, John Elway, gets rid of this guy, I wish nothing but the worst for this organization.
Listen,
Vic Fangio's not the problem.
I have not liked one thing that John Elway has done since he's become the GM of the Denver Broncos. The one thing I liked that this team did was draft Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, who have both been immediate impacts.
Absolutely.
Offense. With Cortland Sutton in there, they could be a scary offense. But they got to get a better game plan, game script on the offensive side of the ball. It's lackluster. They're not putting Drew Lock in the – when you have a quarterback that's struggling, this is just common sense. When you have a quarterback that's holding onto the ball too long, getting a little out of sorts in the pocket and forcing passes, you run the ball, you freaking go off the play action and you run quick passes to get the ball out of your quarterback's hands. That's not what the Broncos are doing. I understand Drew Lock has a great arm and can make the deep ball, throw the deep ball, but let him, start him off early in the game, make
The
it
momentum going.
get some momentum going. Then when you run the ball well, play action, touchdown. KJ Hamler burn somebody. Up to that. He's going right in the games. He's throwing the ball a lot. He's not playing well. I'm blaming Pat Shurmur here.
Yeah, and I looked at that offense. I mean, I was the biggest against advocate of the signing of Melvin Gordon. You know how much Melvin Gordon, if you're watching this video, I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan of Melvin Gordon.
He's run the ball well.
Last week he did.
Yeah.
But especially when you got someone like Philip Lindsay, who I think last week I didn't watch last week. I'll be the first one to say I didn't watch last week. But I just know that Philip Lindsay is a 1,000-yard rusher for 2 or 3 years straight, and he's been performing. And then you go out and sign Melvin Gordon, who I've been watching him for years. Remember, I'm a Raiders fan. I've been watching this division. I never thought Melvin Gordon was good. I always thought Philip Lindsay was better. And now it's just the whole thing screwed up. And I agree with you. If Drew Lock's struggling, you got to throw the short ball, run the football, keep it on the ground, and just keep slowly moving the ball down the field.
You got to write a game plan. You got to write a game script that makes your quarterback think less. When you have a struggling quarterback, they got to get the ball out fast to rely to receivers they trust, to Noah Fant. He's a great tight end. Throw the ball to your running backs. I don't see enough of this in this Broncos offense. They got 2 running backs that can effectively catch the football well. Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay, both good receiving backs. You got to get them more involved. They got to get the running backs more involved in general. I don't like what Pat Shurmur is doing there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that's all. That's actually good. I like that one. So Vic Fangio, you and me are both for him, saying.
And I'm for Lock too. I mean, the guy's struggling. The quarterbacks, we see quarterbacks struggle and come back and have a good season. The guy is still young. I think you got to stick with him. I mean, the Broncos have had absolutely no luck drafting quarterbacks. What are you going to do? Draft another guy and have him not pan out? I say you roll with Drew Lock for the rest of the season in the next year. See how he does.
I mean, they got to do one of two things. They either got to, 3 things really. They can put the blame on Pat Shurmur and get rid of him. They can put the blame on Drew Lock and get rid of him. These are like the 3, decently, I think, smart moves in my opinion, at least. Or the third thing is let both of them stay and let them get the second year in the playbook and learn it and develop and grow. It's going to be rough. I mean, if you change the offensive coordinator again on Drew Lock, it's only going to get rougher. Yeah. So if they keep changing, he's not going to have a good career.
I mean, bring in a smarter guy. Like Pat Shurmur, respect to him. He's been in the league for a long time. But I've never liked anything he's ever done. I've never been a fan of him.
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely feel that way. I mean, he hasn't really done much.
He failed as a head coach. I don't know.
There ain't much there.
I don't care for it.
It just the whole thing stinks. I wish Denver the best of luck. I think the whole entire AFC West is going to be a tough division. It always is. And once they get Von Miller back and Cortland Sutton back, I think this team could absolutely catch fire next season. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
That's all. All right, guys, sign off now. Nick, Ant,
Mike
from Sports Talk. We'll see you guys soon. And we are
Built Better.
See you guys soon. Peace.